let's start off with this deal, this potential deal between the U.S. and Ukraine. It's about $350 billion in these rare earths that could be acquired by the U.S. as part of this deal. As someone who, trades in these critical minerals and these rare earths, how do you see this deal? What's it going to do to only the pricing, the availability, and just the ability to make things here in the U.S.?
I have a term I call a lot of these materials that is different from what you'll hear out in the media. You'll hear the term a lot, critical minerals, but it'll get applied to copper as well as holmium and lutetium, which are two rare earths. A better term is asymmetric commodities. They're commodities, but because there's such a small quantity of them on the planet, single nations can control pricing. So it changes the whole perspective of how to think of these things. Another important aspect of this is access to these materials at the cheapest price is what allows countries to manufacture at the lowest possible price and therefore be competitive, which is what the goals are with the tariffs. So I view Ukraine as a war footing opportunity. It's not something that we're going to use on a day-to-day basis because China controls 90% plus of all the rare earths on the planet. And when you have that level of control, it's asymmetric. You think of the country as if they're like the guerrilla outfit in asymmetric warfare, where the large industrial country they're fighting against is the marketplace. So they can move and groove and do whatever they want. If China brings prices down to next to nothing, below Ukraine's production prices, there's nothing Ukraine can do, right? They've got to come down to the price to be competitive. If China goes up to the moon with pricing, what's Ukraine and their shareholders going to say? Those facilities, we go to the moon. So anyone who controls, I believe, more than 35% controls pricing, and I view Ukraine as really a wartime footing if China cut us off.
All right. So, Michael, I think you're taking this a couple steps ahead. I want to pull back because obviously we're going to have to see how this whole deal unfolds and everything else. But you brought up a key issue, the fact that China has such dominance in what you call asymmetrical commodities. By the way, you need to trademark that. That's a good one.
It's a tough term to say, though.
It is a bit tough.
But
wait, Michael, let me ask you, though. What about this, this competition with China when it comes to technology and other things? Does this potential deal with Ukraine, does this put us, I know they have 90%, but does it put us on better footing? And also, does it give us more leverage to negotiate better prices from China?
The cost for China to produce, given their dominance and given the quality of their deposit, which is another thing that is for another conversation, the deposits in the Greenland and Ukraine are much more expensive to mine than the deposits in China. The Baogong mountain range is virtually all rare earths. You can dig your hand in practically and get the richest rare earths with no radioactivity. They can produce at a very, very low cost. They're also the savviest of separation processes, which you have to do with rare earths, and that we can learn. But as long as they have the price advantage in production, they can always decide which way we'll go. So I don't view Ukraine either as a better opportunity, and I don't even view it as a really great long-term investment to the extent you've got people that are thinking about investing in this side of things. You watch what happened with Molycorp in 2012. China said, you know what, we want to shut the place down. We want to take it over, see if we can. They dropped prices to nothing. Molycorp, at that point, it was Chevron Mining, went into basically like a bankruptcy and sold it. And now Chinese people are on the board, and all the materials being mined out of Molycorp in California go on a boat and they head to China, and they're processed in China by Chinese companies.
So, Michael, let me interrupt you just for a second. We appreciate just the breadth of your knowledge, the depth of it. I mean, this is great insight, but we are running a bit out of time. One thing I do have to ask you about is copper. We're seeing a big surge in copper prices this morning. We were showing the chart just a short time ago. A lot of that on the idea that the president and the administration are looking into putting tariffs on it. When we're looking at copper, is there copper in Ukraine, first and foremost? And also, how do you see that impacting the U.S. manufacturing sector if these tariffs are actually put in place?
Yeah, I wrote a piece on exactly this topic that was in Barron's a couple weeks ago. And I think it's a big mistake to put tariffs on the bottom of the food chain, you might call it, the place where the commodities are. If you're going to make an automobile and you want to sell it at the best price, sure, putting tariffs on the foreign guy makes a big difference. It's helpful, but you're cutting yourself in the foot the other way by increasing the cost to produce your own car. So we should be really thinking about these commodities like copper. We should be bringing in the automotive industry and sitting down with experts and saying, yes, tariff here, here, here. But when you get to the bottom of the food chain, no, not on copper, not on rubber. You're going to increase the cost of our tires. So a more nuanced approach would be wonderful if Trump and his team could look at it that way.